There are people in this world who will drain the oil from your spirit while smiling in your face. There are people who will watch you bleed, then ask you for more. And if you do not wake up spiritually, if you do not open your eyes with wisdom from God, you will spend your entire life rescuing people who were never sent to be rescued by you. You will empty your strength into broken containers. You will destroy your peace trying to save those who are committed to their own destruction. Listen carefully, because this message is not for the weak-minded. This message is for those who are tired of being used, tired of being manipulated, tired of carrying people that God never assigned them to carry. Some people do not need your help. They need repentance. Some people do not need your rescue. They need consequences. And until you understand the difference, your life will become a battlefield of exhaustion. God did not create you to become a servant of toxic people. God did not call you to sacrifice your destiny for individuals who refuse to change. Many good-hearted people are suffering today because they confuse kindness with divine assignment. They think helping everyone makes them holy. They think saying yes to every cry for help makes them righteous. But wisdom is also from God. Discernment is also from God. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is walk away from someone who is destroying your peace. There are people who only remember your name when they are drowning. They disappear when life becomes good again. They ignore your advice, reject your prayers, mock your concern, and then return only when disaster strikes again. They do not respect your spirit. They do not honor your time. They do not value your sacrifice. They see you as an emergency exit, not as a human being with a soul. And if you continue to save them every single time, you are not helping them anymore. You are enabling their destruction. The first type of person you must stop trying to save is the person who refuses responsibility. This person always has an excuse. Nothing is ever their fault. If they fail, they blame others. If they lose, they blame society. If they suffer consequences, they blame destiny. They move through life like victims while creating their own storms. And the dangerous thing is that compassionate people are often trapped by them. Because compassionate people think, maybe if I help one more time, they will finally change. But hear this truth clearly. You cannot help a person who is addicted to excuses. You cannot elevate someone who refuses accountability. God gives wisdom to those who are willing to face truth. But a person who constantly avoids responsibility will turn your kindness into slavery. They will make you carry burdens that belong to them. They will cry on your shoulder while repeating the same destructive patterns over and over again. And every time you rescue them, they become weaker while you become more exhausted. Some people are not drowning because life is unfair. Some people are drowning because they refuse to learn how to swim. If you keep jumping into the water for them, eventually both of you will sink. There are individuals who waste years blaming their parents, blaming their childhood, blaming their enemies, blaming their circumstances. Yes, pain is real. Betrayal is real. Hardship is real. But there comes a moment when every human being must stand before God and decide whether they will rise or remain broken. Responsibility is the beginning of transformation. Without it, change is impossible. Stop trying to carry people who refuse to carry themselves. The second type of person you must never try to save is the manipulator. This person is dangerous because they wear pain like a costume. They know how to make you feel guilty. They know how to make you feel responsible for their emotions. They study your compassion and use it against you. Every conversation becomes emotional blackmail. Every disagreement becomes a dramatic crisis. Every boundary you create becomes an accusation against your character. Manipulators are experts at turning your mercy into chains. They know how to cry at the right moment. They know how to make themselves appear helpless while secretly controlling everyone around them. They drain your energy because they survive through emotional control. And the tragedy is that many spiritually sensitive people cannot recognize manipulation because they mistake it for vulnerability. But God did not call you to become a prisoner of someone else's emotional chaos. You are not responsible for healing every broken person you encounter. Some people are not looking for healing. They are looking for control. They want access to your peace, your wisdom, your strength, your resources, but they do not honor your spirit. They take and take and take until you are empty. And when you finally become exhausted, they accuse you of changing. You must understand this deeply. Love without wisdom becomes self-destruction. Compassion without discernment becomes captivity. God never asked you to destroy yourself trying to rescue people who manipulate your heart. If someone only values you when you are sacrificing for them, that is not love. If someone makes you feel guilty every time you say no, that is not loyalty. If someone constantly creates drama to keep your attention, that is not spiritual connection. It is manipulation. The third type of person you must stop trying to save is the person who hates wisdom. This individual asks for advice but never follows it. They come to you again and again with the same problems, the same tears, the same disasters. You speak truth to them, but they reject it. You warn them, but they ignore you. Then they return crying after the consequences destroy them once again. Do not waste your life pouring wisdom into closed ears. Some people do not want solutions. They want sympathy. They enjoy the emotional attention that comes from staying broken. They feed on the comfort of being victims. They pretend to seek guidance, but in reality, they are addicted to chaos. God gives instruction to transform lives, but stubborn people reject correction because pride controls them. Pride is one of the most destructive forces on earth. Pride will keep a person suffering for years because they refuse to humble themselves before truth. And if you continue trying to rescue prideful people, you will lose your peace. There are people who are committed to making bad decisions. No matter how much wisdom you share, they continue walking toward destruction. They choose toxic relationships. They choose dishonesty. They choose laziness. They choose rebellion. Then they expect you to clean up the mess afterward. But there comes a moment when wisdom says, enough is enough. You cannot save someone who is in love with their own destruction. You cannot force transformation upon a person who worships stubbornness. God Himself gives people free will. So who are you to believe you can change someone who refuses truth? Stop carrying the emotional weight of people who reject wisdom. Protect your spirit. Protect your peace. Protect the destiny God placed inside you. The fourth type of person you must never try to save is the ungrateful person. Ungrateful people are dangerous to your soul because they normalize your sacrifice. No matter what you do for them, it is never enough. They quickly forget your kindness. They overlook your effort. They minimize your generosity. They consume your energy without appreciation. An ungrateful heart is never satisfied. You can give them your time, your money, your support, your prayers, your loyalty, and still they will complain. Why? Because gratitude is not about what someone receives. It is about the condition of their spirit. A person without gratitude will always feel entitled. Entitled people will drain you without mercy. Some of you are exhausted today because you keep investing in people who never value you. You keep watering dead soil. You keep sacrificing for individuals who secretly resent your strength. You keep trying to prove your worth to people who are blind to your value. But hear this clearly. Never beg to be appreciated. Never destroy yourself trying to earn gratitude from people whose hearts are poisoned by entitlement. God blesses people with resources, opportunities, and relationships, but ungrateful individuals turn blessings into complaints. They focus on what they lack instead of honoring what they already have. And because their spirit is rooted in dissatisfaction, nothing will ever satisfy them. You cannot fill a soul that has chosen emptiness. There are people who only contact you when they need something. They disappear during your struggles, but suddenly reappear during their emergencies. They treat your kindness like a resource to exploit. And every time you help them, they become more dependent while becoming less appreciative. This cycle will continue until you finally awaken spiritually and realize that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy. The fifth type of person you must stop trying to save is the chronically negative person. This person poisons every atmosphere they enter. They complain constantly. They criticize everything. They speak defeat over every situation. They carry darkness in their mouth. Even when God opens doors for them, they find reasons to complain. Negative people are spiritually exhausting because they spread hopelessness. You can spend hours encouraging them only to watch them return to despair the next day. They reject faith. They reject hope. They reject possibility. And if you stay connected to them too long, their negativity will begin infecting your own spirit. Be careful who you allow into your inner circle. Energy is contagious. Mindsets are contagious. Faith is contagious. Fear is contagious. If you constantly surround yourself with negative people, eventually your vision will weaken. Your confidence will weaken. Your hope will weaken. That is why wisdom matters. There are people who speak failure over everything. They mock dreams. They discourage ambition. They criticize growth. They attack anyone who tries to rise higher. Why? Because broken people often become uncomfortable around purpose-driven individuals. Your growth reminds them of their excuses. Your discipline exposes their laziness. Your faith exposes their fear. Do not let negative people become architects of your future. Stop trying to save individuals who are committed to hopelessness. Some people love darkness because light exposes the condition of their soul. And if you are not careful, they will pull you into emotional exhaustion with them. God did not place vision inside you so you could waste your life drowning in negativity. God gave you purpose, strength, intelligence, and spiritual power for a reason. Protect your environment, protect your thoughts, protect your faith. Sometimes separation is not cruelty, it is survival. The sixth type of person you must never try to save is the person who betrays you repeatedly. Listen carefully to this, because many people ignore this truth until their soul becomes shattered. One betrayal can be a mistake, but repeated betrayal reveals character. When someone continuously lies to you, disrespects you, uses you, and wounds you, believe what their actions are revealing. Some people remain trapped in toxic relationships because they are addicted to potential. They keep hoping the betrayer will suddenly transform. They keep remembering the good moments while ignoring the consistent damage. But wisdom does not ignore patterns. Wisdom pays attention to fruit. A person who repeatedly betrays trust without repentance will eventually destroy your peace completely. They will manipulate your emotions until you cannot think clearly anymore. They will make you question your value. They will make you feel guilty for expecting loyalty. And if you continue rescuing them after every betrayal, you teach them that your boundaries are meaningless. God never intended for you to live in constant emotional torment. Relationships should not feel like endless warfare. Loyalty matters. Integrity matters. Character matters. And when someone repeatedly dishonors those things, distance becomes necessary. Some people apologize without transformation. They cry without changing. They promise without action. But words are meaningless without fruit. Stop believing empty speeches while ignoring consistent behavior. A snake does not become safe because it speaks softly. Discernment means recognizing patterns before they destroy your spirit. There are seasons in life when God will remove certain people from your journey because they cannot go where you are going. Not everyone connected to you is assigned to your destiny. Some people are attached to you because they benefit from your strength. Others are attached to your resources. Others are attached to your kindness. But very few are truly connected to your purpose. You must stop feeling guilty for protecting your peace. You must stop apologizing for setting boundaries. Boundaries are not hatred. Boundaries are wisdom. Even nature understands boundaries. The ocean has boundaries. The night has boundaries. The seasons have boundaries. Yet many people live without emotional boundaries and wonder why their soul feels constantly exhausted. Some of you have spent years trying to save people while neglecting your own spiritual condition. You have sacrificed your mental peace for people who would never do the same for you. You have delayed your destiny trying to fix broken individuals who refuse transformation. And now your spirit is tired. Your mind is heavy. Your heart is wounded. But today God is calling you to awaken. Stop carrying burdens that were never assigned to you. Stop confusing guilt with compassion. Stop destroying your future trying to rescue people who are committed to dysfunction. Understand this deeply. You are not stronger because you tolerate abuse. You are not more spiritual because you allow manipulation. You are not more righteous because you let toxic people drain your soul endlessly. Wisdom is also holy. Discernment is also divine. There are moments when walking away is an act of faith. There are moments when silence is wisdom. There are moments when distance is protection. And there are moments when saying no becomes necessary for your survival. Many people are addicted to being needed. They build their identity around rescuing others because it makes them feel valuable. But if your worth only comes from saving broken people, eventually you will attract endless chaos into your life. Your identity must come from God, not from being someone's emotional savior. You cannot heal everyone. You cannot rescue everyone. You cannot carry everyone. Some battles belong to God alone. Some lessons people must learn through consequences. Pain teaches what comfort never can. Struggle reveals what easy living hides. And sometimes the greatest help you can give someone is allowing them to face the results of their own choices. Stop interfering with lessons that life is trying to teach. Every time you rescue irresponsible people from consequences, you interrupt growth. Every time you protect toxic individuals from accountability, you strengthen their dysfunction. Real transformation often begins when excuses finally collapse. There are people listening right now who feel emotionally imprisoned because they keep trying to save everyone around them. They feel guilty resting, guilty saying no, guilty choosing peace. But hear this truth clearly. God did not create you to become a sacrifice for toxic people. Your peace matters. Your calling matters. Your future matters. Your spiritual health matters. And if certain people continuously destroy those things, you must have the courage to let go. Do not misunderstand this message. Compassion is powerful. Kindness is powerful. Generosity is powerful. But wisdom must guide compassion. Otherwise, your kindness will become a weapon used against you. There is a difference between helping the weak and enabling the destructive. There is a difference between supporting someone temporarily and carrying them forever. There is a difference between mercy and self-destruction. Some people only grow when support disappears. Some people only awaken when rescue stops. Some people only change when consequences become unavoidable. You are not responsible for preventing every person from suffering. Some suffering is necessary for transformation. God wants you to live with peace, clarity, wisdom, and strength. But toxic connections can block all of those things. Wrong relationships can delay purpose. Wrong people can drain vision. Wrong environments can weaken faith. That is why discernment is essential. Pay attention to how people affect your spirit. Some individuals leave you inspired, peaceful, motivated, and hopeful. Others leave you drained, anxious, exhausted, and confused. That difference matters. Your spirit recognizes what your emotions sometimes try to ignore. Do not keep giving access to people who repeatedly dishonor your soul. Do not keep opening doors that God is trying to close. Do not keep rebuilding bridges that toxic people continue burning. There comes a moment in life when maturity requires separation. Not because you hate people, but because you finally respect your own peace. Not because you lack compassion, but because you finally understand wisdom. Not because you are cold-hearted, but because you recognize that your destiny cannot survive endless toxicity. Some people will call you selfish when you stop rescuing them. Others will accuse you of changing. But understand why they are angry. Your boundaries threaten the control they once had over you. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always resist your growth. Do not fear losing people who only valued your usefulness. Real relationships survive healthy boundaries. Genuine people respect your peace. Honest people value reciprocity. Healthy individuals do not demand endless sacrifice while offering nothing in return. The truth is painful but necessary. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your life. Access is earned through respect, integrity, gratitude, honesty, and character. Your energy is sacred. Your time is sacred. Your peace is sacred. Your calling is sacred. Stop handing those treasures to people who repeatedly dishonor them. There are individuals who will watch you collapse emotionally while still demanding more from you. There are individuals who will consume your strength until you have nothing left. And if you never learn discernment, you will wake up one day spiritually empty because you spent your entire life trying to save people who never wanted transformation. Today is the day to awaken. Today is the day to choose wisdom over guilt. Today is the day to stop carrying unnecessary burdens. Today is the day to stop rescuing destructive people at the cost of your own peace. God is calling you higher, higher in wisdom, higher in discernment, higher in spiritual strength, but you cannot rise while dragging toxic people who refuse growth. Eagles cannot fly while carrying stones. Some people are assignments. Others are distractions. Learn the difference. Some people bring peace into your life. Others bring confusion. Some people strengthen your spirit. Others weaken it. Some people honor your value. Others exploit your kindness. Discernment will protect your future. Wisdom will protect your peace. Boundaries will protect your spirit. There are seasons when God will intentionally allow you to feel uncomfortable around certain people because your spirit is finally awakening to what your emotions kept ignoring. For years, you may have called it loyalty. You may have called it compassion. You may have called it patience. But deep inside, your soul knew something was wrong. Every conversation left you heavy. Every interaction drained your energy. Every encounter stole your peace. Yet you continued staying connected because you feared being misunderstood. You feared looking selfish. You feared disappointing people. But hear this clearly. God never intended for your life to become a prison built from guilt. Some people are experts at surviving through the strength of others. They avoid discipline because someone always rescues them. They avoid responsibility because someone always carries them. They avoid growth because someone always protects them from consequences. And while they remain comfortable in dysfunction, the helper slowly collapses under invisible pressure. This is why discernment matters. Helping someone should not require destroying yourself. Supporting someone should not require abandoning your own peace. If your kindness is constantly producing exhaustion instead of peace, wisdom is trying to speak to you. There are people who do not fear losing you because they have never truly valued you. They only fear losing access to what you provide. As long as you give advice, money, emotional support, attention, forgiveness, and endless patience, they stay close. But the moment you establish boundaries, their attitude changes. Suddenly you become difficult. Suddenly you become cold. Suddenly you become selfish. Why? Because toxic people celebrate your generosity only when it benefits them. You must understand that every assignment from God produces peace, clarity, and purpose, even when it requires sacrifice. But toxic attachments produce confusion, fear, anxiety, and emotional instability. God is not the author of confusion. If a relationship constantly pushes you away from peace, away from discipline, away from wisdom, and away from spiritual strength, you must stop ignoring the warning signs. Some people are surrounded by chaos because they secretly feed on chaos. Peace feels uncomfortable to them because dysfunction has become their identity. They create conflict where none exists. They exaggerate problems. They spread negativity. They turn small disagreements into emotional storms. And if you are not spiritually alert, they will pull you into battles that never belong to you. Never allow people addicted to drama to make your spirit restless. There are individuals who wake up every day searching for conflict because inner emptiness controls them. They gossip because silence terrifies them. They attack others because bitterness consumes them. They constantly complain because gratitude never grew inside their heart. And the dangerous thing is this: if you remain around them too long, their spirit can influence yours. Protect your inner atmosphere. A peaceful mind is not weakness. It is strength. A disciplined spirit is not passivity. It is power. God did not create you to live emotionally shattered every day. There are people who laugh while watching others suffer. There are people who enjoy controlling emotions. There are people who feel powerful only when others feel weak. And if you continue trying to rescue such individuals, eventually your own light will begin to dim. You must stop believing that love means endless tolerance of toxic behavior. True wisdom understands that love and boundaries can exist together. You can care about someone without allowing them to destroy your peace. You can pray for someone without becoming trapped by their dysfunction. You can wish someone well while still walking away from their chaos. Many people lose years of their destiny because they become emotionally attached to broken patterns. They stay connected to people who constantly delay their growth. They remain loyal to environments that poison their spirit. They continue rescuing people who repeatedly dishonor them. And slowly, their vision begins to die. Their motivation disappears. Their spiritual fire weakens, not because God abandoned them, but because they refused to separate from what was draining them. There are moments when separation becomes obedience. Not every door must remain open forever. Not every relationship is meant for every season. Some people entered your life to teach you wisdom, not to stay permanently. Some people were lessons disguised as connections. And one of the greatest forms of maturity is recognizing when someone can no longer accompany you into your next season. Do not fear walking alone temporarily if it protects your peace. Solitude with peace is far better than constant company with toxicity. Some people are terrified of loneliness, so they tolerate disrespect, manipulation, betrayal, and emotional exhaustion just to avoid being alone. But a crowded life without peace is still emptiness. God often separates people before elevation. Before growth comes pruning. Before clarity comes separation. Before breakthrough comes discernment. A farmer removes dead branches not out of hatred, but because healthy growth requires it. And in the same way, some connections must leave your life for your spirit to breathe again. There are individuals who only approach you during moments of weakness because they know strong people are easier to control when emotionally exhausted. They wait until you are vulnerable, discouraged, or wounded. Then they use emotional pressure to regain access to your energy. Be careful who you listen to during difficult seasons. Pain can make people emotionally blind. Weariness can weaken discernment. That is why spiritual discipline matters. Never make permanent emotional decisions during moments of spiritual exhaustion. Some people will use your compassion against you when they sense your heart is tired. They know exactly what words to say. They know how to awaken guilt inside you. But wisdom must become stronger than emotion. Your heart may feel compassion, but discernment must decide access. There are people who appear humble outwardly, but carry hidden pride inwardly. They refuse correction. They reject accountability. They resist wisdom. And because they cannot control themselves, they attempt to control everyone around them. Such individuals drain every environment they enter because insecurity rules their spirit. Do not waste your life trying to prove your value to people committed to misunderstanding you. Some individuals have already decided to see you through the lens of bitterness, jealousy, or selfishness. No amount of sacrifice will change their heart. No amount of kindness will satisfy them. A poisoned mind can turn even generosity into suspicion. This is why your identity must remain rooted in God alone. If your peace depends on human approval, you will become emotionally enslaved to people's opinions. But when your confidence comes from God, manipulation loses its power. Criticism loses its control. Rejection loses its sting, because you understand that your worth is not determined by unstable people. There are people who mistake access for ownership. Just because you were kind to them, they believe they deserve unlimited control over your life. They become angry when you prioritize your peace. They become offended when you protect your time. But understand this deeply. Access to your life is a privilege, not a right. Some of you have spent years overextending yourself for people who would never sacrifice the same for you. You answer every call. You solve every crisis. You rescue every emergency. Yet when you are the one suffering, silence surrounds you. Suddenly everyone disappears. Suddenly nobody is available. And that painful realization becomes the moment God opens your eyes. Not everyone standing near you is standing with you. Some people study your strength while secretly resenting your light. Some people celebrate your kindness publicly while exploiting it privately. Some people smile in your presence while hoping for your downfall internally. That is why discernment is more valuable than popularity. You do not need a large crowd around you to fulfill your purpose. One genuine, peaceful, loyal connection is more valuable than 1,000 toxic attachments. Stop measuring your value by how many people surround you. Crowds can still leave you empty. Applause can still hide loneliness. What matters is the quality of the spirit connected to your life. God did not create you to become emotionally available for everyone. Even the strongest soul has limits. Constant emotional pressure can exhaust the mind, weaken the spirit, and cloud judgment. Rest is necessary. Peace is necessary. Silence is necessary. Reflection is necessary. Some people fear silence because silence exposes what noise was hiding inside them. When your spirit becomes healthy, you stop chasing people who continuously dishonor you. You stop begging for understanding. You stop forcing connections. You stop trying to convince people to value you. Healthy souls recognize their worth without arrogance because their confidence comes from God. There are individuals who only feel secure when you remain weak. The moment you become disciplined, focused, peaceful, and spiritually strong, they become uncomfortable. Why? Because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your healing reminds them of their brokenness. Your discipline reveals their excuses. And instead of changing themselves, they attempt to pull you backward. Do not apologize for growing. Do not apologize for becoming wiser. Do not apologize for protecting your peace. Weak-minded people often attack boundaries because boundaries remove their control. But every strong future requires strong discernment. There are battles that do not require your presence. Some conflicts are distractions sent to consume your energy. Every argument does not deserve your response. Every accusation does not deserve your defense. Every critic does not deserve your attention. Wisdom knows when silence is more powerful than reaction. Many people lose their peace trying to explain themselves to those committed to misunderstanding them. But not every person deserves access to your inner world. Some individuals ask questions not to understand you, but to judge you. Others seek information only to weaponize it later. Discernment protects what foolishness exposes carelessly. Be careful about becoming addicted to fixing people. That burden belongs to God, not to you. You are responsible for your obedience, your integrity, your growth, and your spirit. But you cannot force maturity into another person. You cannot force honesty into a dishonest heart. You cannot force gratitude into an entitled spirit. You cannot force wisdom into someone who loves foolishness. Some people must lose access to your life before they recognize your value. Constant availability often creates disrespect. When people become too familiar with your sacrifice, they begin treating it as ordinary. Distance reveals what presence was hiding. Absence exposes true intentions. There are individuals who never thank God for the people around them until those people walk away. Do not wait until exhaustion destroys your spirit before creating boundaries. Learn to protect your peace early. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to recognize manipulation before it controls you. You cannot build a peaceful future while remaining chained to toxic cycles. Every season of elevation requires letting go of something heavy. A person climbing a mountain cannot carry unnecessary weight forever, and many of you are spiritually exhausted because you are dragging emotional burdens that God never commanded you to carry. Your future requires clarity. Your calling requires discipline. Your peace requires wisdom. And your spirit requires protection. Stop allowing chaos unlimited access to your life. Stop confusing emotional pressure with responsibility. Stop sacrificing your mental peace to maintain unhealthy connections. The stronger your discernment becomes, the smaller your circle often becomes. Not because you hate people, but because you finally recognize the difference between genuine connection and emotional dependency. Genuine people respect your peace. Toxic people resent it. Never feel guilty for choosing peace over drama, wisdom over manipulation, truth over emotional pressure, and purpose over toxic attachment. God did not place greatness inside you so your life could be consumed by people who refuse growth. Tonight, before you close your eyes, examine your life with honesty. Look carefully at the people surrounding your spirit. Look carefully at the voices influencing your mind. Look carefully at the burdens exhausting your soul. Ask yourself a serious question. What has my constant rescuing cost me? How much peace have you lost trying to save people who refuse wisdom? How much strength have you sacrificed trying to carry individuals who continue choosing destruction? How many nights have you spent emotionally broken because you kept opening doors that God was trying to close? There comes a moment when every person must choose between pleasing people and protecting the calling God placed upon their life. You cannot continue walking with darkness while asking God for light. You cannot continue surrounding yourself with chaos while praying for peace. You cannot continue allowing toxic people to drain your spirit while asking God for strength. Wisdom demands action. Discernment demands courage, and courage often requires separation. Do not ignore the warnings God has been placing inside your spirit. That exhaustion you feel is not weakness. That inner heaviness is not imagination. That constant disturbance in your heart is not accidental. Your soul recognizes what your emotions keep trying to excuse. God is calling you higher, but elevation requires release. You cannot rise while chained to people committed to staying spiritually asleep. Stop mourning connections that were destroying you. Stop begging for loyalty from people who repeatedly dishonor you. Stop sacrificing your peace to maintain relationships built on manipulation, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. You were not created to become a servant of dysfunction. You were created to walk in wisdom, strength, clarity, and purpose under the guidance of God. Some of you have spent years feeling responsible for everyone around you while neglecting your own soul. You became so focused on rescuing others that you forgot to protect your own spirit. But hear this truth deeply. God never asked you to destroy yourself trying to save people who refuse transformation. There are battles only God can fight. There are hearts only God can change. There are lessons only consequences can teach. Release the guilt. Release the pressure. Release the fear of disappointing people. The moment you stop allowing toxic individuals to control your emotions is the moment your spirit begins to breathe again. Peace will return. Clarity will return. Strength will return. Your mind will become lighter. Your soul will become stronger. Your purpose will become clearer. Walk away from what constantly weakens your faith. Walk away from what poisons your peace. Walk away from what destroys your discipline. Walk away from people who repeatedly pull you away from wisdom, integrity, and truth. Not out of hatred, not out of pride, but out of obedience to the life God is calling you toward. There is greatness inside you that cannot grow in toxic environments. There is peace inside you that cannot survive endless chaos. There is wisdom inside you that must finally rise above emotional manipulation. And there is a future waiting for you that requires courage, discernment, and spiritual maturity. Do not waste another year chained to relationships that drain your soul. Do not waste another season trying to rescue people who are committed to remaining broken. Life is too precious. Your calling is too important. Your spirit is too valuable. Stand up spiritually. Reclaim your peace. Reclaim your mind. Reclaim your strength. Reclaim the dignity that manipulation tried to steal from you. Let your heart return fully to God. Let your spirit become disciplined again. Let wisdom guide your relationships. Let discernment protect your future. And from this day forward, refuse to apologize for choosing peace over chaos, wisdom over guilt, and purpose over toxic attachment. Refuse to surrender your destiny to people who refuse growth. Refuse to let emotional pressure silence the truth God has placed inside your soul. Walk boldly. Walk wisely. Walk with courage. Trust God enough to release what no longer belongs in your life. Trust God enough to believe that protecting your peace is not selfishness. It is spiritual responsibility. Trust God enough to know that every door that closes in wisdom creates space for something healthier, cleaner, stronger, and filled with peace. And may your spirit never again become a prison for people who refuse light, refuse truth, and refuse transformation. May your heart grow stronger in wisdom, deeper in faith, clearer in discernment, and closer to God with every step you take.